Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Wrestle Addict Radio Network.
Hey, what's up, you guys?
What is going on, everybody?
What up, fam?
Hey, it's me.
What up, Oozes?
What's up, guys? This is the Monday Night Delight.
Are you looking for a network that brings you all things pro wrestling? Then look no further. Wrestle Addict Radio brings you a varied source of wrestling content.
What's going on, guys? This is Willie T.
My name's Mr. Fretz.
This is your resident Smart Slayer.
Search for Wrestle Addict Radio on all major podcast platforms and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.
Buzz, guys. My name is Kate Murphy of the Kings of the Ring podcast, and you are listening.
And you're listening. And you're listening.
And you are listening.
And you are listening.
Get ready for a war, because you're listening.
Come join the war each and every week as we fight to keep wrestling real.
What's up, everybody? This is King Ricky Rose, and you are listening to Wrestle Addict Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coda Jacobs, the Crusader and visionary behind a brighter future in wrestling. If you're an honorable and noble public servant like myself, you are listening to the Game Changer Podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this special edition of the Game Changer Podcast, where we remind you to let us in. I am indeed NateFNGreat, part of Wrestle Addict Radio. I am joined here by another member of Wrestle Addict Radio, the one, the only, the ever so... No!
Happy Halloween, folks. Although it's after Halloween by the time you hear this, who cares? We're recording on Halloween. It is I, Spooky Mr. Fretz here, just gave Nate the mandible claw, and I'm taking control of the Firefly Nate house. Yes, it is me, it is Mr. Fretz, and I just died a little inside pronouncing Z, but because most of our audience is American, I will cater to your specific needs. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the legendary JF, and yeah, it's interesting week in wrestling, although I've been spending a little bit more time, actually, since about midnight, playing Luigi's Mansion 3, but since it's All Hallows Eve, or Reformation Day, whatever you want to call October 31st, apropos.
Hey, fair enough. So, happy belated Halloween for a lot of people, but for today, for the day that this comes out, happy Wrestling Hub Nomination Day. So, hooray for those that got nominated. If we were one of them, hooray. If not, bollocks. But for those of you that definitely did get the nomination, definitely major nod from all of us here at the Game Changer Podcast. Sure, also from the Wrestle Addict Radio Network family as well. But we'll get more into that, I think, for the following episode where we talk about the nomination list. But we're not here to talk about that just yet because that's just on the horizon. Of course, as Fretz mentioned, it's another weird week of wrestling. Honestly, I wanted to talk a little bit briefly about SmackDown Live this past week. Mainly the whole deal that happened between Rey Mysterio, Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar, and Dominic. So once again, Brock doesn't give a shit about the kids. Beats down on Dominic. Then we see them in the training room where, for a while, it definitely did seem like the whole deal where the doctor was saying, like, oh, give him space, give him space. That just went on a little too long. Out comes Brock Lesnar, who comes in with a trash can, beats down Cain Velasquez and Rey Mysterio, and he grabs Rey Mysterio for the F5 and lawn darts him into the wall with that F5. Then he picks up Cain Velasquez, F5s him onto Dominic, which is honestly the first time I think I've seen Brock Lesnar F5 somebody onto another person. So I'm sorry, I was wigging out at that moment. I thought that was very cool. Something I'd never really seen, but isn't enough to keep me excited for the Crown Jewel event, which is probably happening very soon. And I will tell you this, that we don't much care for it, but we will go on this little side note here. Major props as well as congratulations go out to Lacey Evans and Natalya for being the first women's matchup since the Saudi Arabia agreement has been confirmed. So even though there's probably a lot of us that would have preferred other people to take those spots, cannot deny this is a bit of a historic deal, and this is, I wouldn't really see a huge step forward, but it's definitely one of those things that it is something I don't think we were expecting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought we could have had something because I think it was either Super Showdown or last year's Crown Fool where Renee Young was commentating.
Oh, that's
right. So I thought we were going to see something historic in, at least women's wrestling over there, because I'll get into it here. We have something very historic coming up for women's wrestling in America in the month of November, and I won't get there quite yet, but I think Natty and the sassy Southern Belle, I think they're fine choices. I mean, some people, but what about Sasha and Bayley? Well, who cares? It's a women's match in Saudi Arabia. It's a progressive step forward in, I'm going to tiptoe around this in a not so progressive country. That is neither here nor there. Shout out Dusty Dave. That's our one for the show. But I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I think TNA did something like this, like 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago, but they had a women's match over there. They are all, well, of course, they had to be all dressed up in full body suits because modesty. Right. But hey, you know what? I'm all for it. Natty is a veteran. She can carry Lacey through this. They put on okay matches.
Yeah, cool. I think that's, like you said, we probably would have preferred somebody else to take the spot. But at the same time, it is very huge that they got women on here, period. So I'm not going to nitpick about it. I'm not going to go all crazy about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? It's happening. It's fine. I'm not going to really, shout too much on it. Question of, are we going to do predictions for Crown Jewel? Let me replay by saying, hell no. This is another one of those events I just do not care about. Even if people are saying, like, well, it's going to feature The Fiend and Rollins where the match can't be stopped. Again, had they not had that dumb finish at the end of Hell in a Cell, then we wouldn't have to have that stupid stipulation to begin with.
They could just say, I'm sorry, they could just say something like Last Man Standing or the match cannot be stopped for any reason. I'm like, and now I think the whole wrestling world, I think, is kind of poking fun at this now because Cody and Jericho's title match is 60-minute time limit, and it's going to have judges at ringside. So there's going to be a Dusty finish, and apropos because Dusty's kid. There's still a sour taste in my mouth about that whole deal. If I could say one thing, somehow Seth is going to walk out with the title. If it's the match can't be stopped, it's going to still be going on the airplane home.
Yeah.
And someone's going to get pinned while they're sleeping, like Jinder Mahal in the 24/7 title.
Hey, at least that was funny. So, there's nothing funny when we talk about this whole deal with Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. Honestly, I will say this. I'm one of those few people to believe that, what was I going to say? Brand split be damned. I would much rather see Bray Wyatt walking out with the title, even though some people are just saying, well, he just came back and this new character is not really doing that. It's like, so what? He's still doing a lot more than Brock Lesnar is. I'm sorry, but so many people could say, well, it was a great move that Brock Lesnar's coming back and he's quote-unquote full-time now. It's like, well, he hasn't really done that many matches except for his match with Kofi. And I will also say this. I love the fact that people have been putting this deal into our heads that this is going to build up to a heel turn by Kofi Kingston. And there's been a lot of these little nit deals. There's going to be like a lot of these little spots here and there where Kofi's going to seem either angry or agitated, and they haven't really even mentioned the fact that, he lost the title. It's like, it is weird that they did that, but at least they're doing these little details where it's like, okay, obviously he's still upset about that because this was something that he worked so many years for, 11 years to get to this spot. You don't just get over that overnight. You really don't. So this is going to build up. This is going to brew. I want to see where this is going. It's going to be interesting. Some people are saying heel Kofi, which honestly might be a bit of a good change-up for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I see that now that Xavier Woods is on the shelf. An Achilles injury, that's so unfortunate, but it's going to give him a lot of time to stream up, down, and do a lot of content with there. So if you're a big Woods fan like me and a big gamer like me, well, that's fun there. But I always thought that Big E was going to be the one. But with the New Day only being Big E and Kofi, I'm not so sure. But then if there's a heel turn with one of them, and like a year down the line when Xavier is actually cleared, he'll come back in and be like, stuck in the middle with you. Like, dude, what the hell's going on?
Right.
It'll be, yeah. So,
well,
I am intrigued. I want to see Kofi Kofi's kind of the character that has never been healed. I don't think. New Day started out as heel, but then they just got too good of reactions and became baby faces by default. I wonder how they can do that with someone else right now, or reversed. Kind of like how, we'll get into it here, it's like Finn Balor, we didn't think this guy would ever be a heel, but listen to his promo last night. Damn, he's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is kind of interesting because they had this whole deal, and after SmackDown, they presented this new thing called WWE Backstage, where it's hosted by Renee Young, Booker T, Christian, and Paige. For them to talk about things that happened throughout the entire week of WWE. And, they did bring up the whole Finn Balor deal. In fact, Finn Balor was a guest on their pre-show because I guess it officially went to Tuesdays this past week, if I'm not mistaken. They're trying to make this into a legitimate show. So that's really cool to see. Love Renee Young. I think that having Christian and Paige in there, adding that, kind of wrestling knowledge in there was going to be great. Booker T, wrestling knowledge, but also he's just got some funny stuff to say. Two things that came out. That one was, of course, the whole deal with Finn Balor, where he kind of does talk about how how the Prince is back, and he also there was also references of all the guys from the club saying well, and hey, it's good to see you back, Prince, and he even referenced that. He said that the Prince is back, so it is kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, we're getting We're getting Prince Fergal. We're getting Prince Devitt on the on this deal. Do I think that he's going to change into that character? No, I think he's still going to be Finn Balor. But at the same time, I'm very interested in seeing where this goes from here. Honestly, oh gosh, we're getting Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano at TakeOver. I'm calling that right now. Oh, that's just a beautiful sight. That's just I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh heck yeah! And I'm just gonna go ahead here and reference his promo from last night as soon as I get it. Yeah, he just said, he referenced the Fiend, you know, kind of like how I said the other week that he let him in. He just said, yeah, I went from laying down for the hottest thing in wrestling with a mask into becoming the hottest thing himself. Or removing his own mask and becoming the hottest thing himself. Like, I don't watch the business watches me. Mic drop.
Wow. Yeah, that is some deep stuff, and that's really cool to see that. I'm going to have to watch that whole entire Finn Balor promo now just to really let that all sink in because he is good on the mic. It's just a matter of having him have the right character and the right people, you know, letting him have creative freedom. Obviously, when he was on the roster, not so much. But now when he's on NXT, it's kind of one of those things where, you know, the big man, the man of 3 H's, I got new nails on myself, gonna put up the shelf because I'm a dad. Sorry, that's an Adam Blampier reference. Shout out to Adam Blampier. We love you, dude. It's one of those situations where, you know, it's really cool to see that where Finn Balor can actually be, you know, himself and not have too much in the way of, you know, repercussions, not have too many ways of people saying like, oh, we want you to have this, but we also want you to incorporate this. It's like, no, let him be him. Let him do what comes naturally. Don't force anything because that's just stupid. Speaking of stupid, another cringeworthy deal on Raw that took place where we had, instead of King's Court, we had Divorce Court.
Oh.
Yep.
Take my pills. This is my vitamins, folks. I'm just getting ready.
All right. So basically, we have this deal where Rusev and Lana are on the King's Court, the quote-unquote divorce court, where they're basically airing out their grievances to the entire world. Because why not? That's always worked with, you know, divorce courts on TV, where you would think that maybe it's something that people could relate to. Maybe it's something where it's like, oh, well, you know, he wasn't paying too much attention to me, or she was not being loyal to me, or something like that. What do we get out of this? The fact that Lana is a bit of a gold digger, in my opinion. She hates the fact that Rusev is a sex addict, which I remember us making so many jokes about that. I think you were the one that made the comment where it was like, man, imagine them having the fun time on the tank. Be like, dude, if there's a story that literally surfaces about that, I will literally call Rusev my favorite of all time. There has not been a story that surfaced about that, so the whole him being my favorite is going to be put on hold for a while. But then there's a deal where Lana accuses Rusev of cheating on her, which I find that hard to believe. It's one of those things where, you know, they built them up like they love each other so much. Why would Rusev want to just, you know, cheat on Lana and stuff like that? And from what it's kind of one of those things where you kind of look at where everything was going. In all honesty, it's Lana who's causing more of the problems than Rusev. What a shock. It's like it happened in real life. Wait. Let me just look at reports from a couple years ago. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a thing. So, it is one of those situations where Lana is the heelish deal when it came to this, and she's got, you know, Lashley there, which, honestly, I will say this. For her claim that Rusev is a sex addict, there's a lot of weird, like, sexual deals that go on between Lashley and Lana. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, wait, you're complaining about him being a sex machine, and you're basically getting the same thing with Lashley, and you're not complaining about that at all? Oh, okay. I see where this is going. I see how this makes sense. But this ended with Lashley coming out, and Rusev and him having a battle. Rusev actually took off his wedding ring and jammed it into Lashley's gullet. And, you know, you think like, oh, this actually seemed like it working. And people were actually getting behind it. Up until we see Lana hitting the kendo stick. Now, my issue with this is not that she hit him with the kendo stick, but she hit him with the wrong end of the kendo stick. Because you wouldn't think that the little white thing that's taped around the end of it, people would be smart enough to realize, oh, hey, this is where I take my hands. They get the brunt of the bamboo stick, whatever the hell it is. No, she takes the other end of it and starts whacking away on Rusev. Rusev, who is just no-selling for obvious reasons. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you know what, I accept this because he's probably getting the softer end of the stick. Okay, obviously out of context, this sounds very wrong, but whatever. We see Rusev and Lana have a stare down. Lashley gets a low blow. Lashley beats him down. Then they have the deal where Lana and Lashley do a grotesque makeout session where they're basically trying to eat each other's faces. So, I don't know who exactly was in the chat that said that, said this, but they said that, even though this was cringeworthy, it still has me interested in seeing what happens next. It is kind of one of those things where it's like scary movie, where it's like, yeah, it's bad, but it's so entertaining, you kind of are hooked to see what's going on. I don't think that it's entertaining to the point, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, where does this go next? Is this just going to be a situation where we're going to get a build-up between Rusev and Lashley for a headline pay-per-view, which honestly, I'd be okay with that, because I think these guys could put on a pretty good matchup. But I think just the storylines and the circumstances that are creating this are just really dumb. But I don't know. What are your thoughts about the whole divorce court deal, Mr. Fretz? And does this storyline hold any bit of interest on your end?
Absolutely not. I mean, I tapped out. I mean, I wasn't finding a lot of joy in anything I was watching Monday night. The hockey game was on as well, and the Leafs friggin' stank up the joint. Then I turned on Raw. There's a few good moments in matches. I can't remember for the life of me what else happened on Raw other than like AJ and Umberto, which damn good match. Umberto Dimples and this whole divorce court thing. I'm going to be kind of quoting John Ritland and the Durbinator here. Shout out to those guys. They do reviews basically every show, and then John kind of does, the odd movie here and there. Some of their humor might not be for everybody, so I'm gonna put it out right there. And he's gonna watch Crown Jewel, so we don't have to. So I can just listen to his review of it tonight after work. He's just like, they're like a guy telling a girl that their spouse is cheating on them, and then they go and bang that person. This is how human beings behave. So, in a way, that's why that's relatable. I think I brought it up in the chat like a day or two after, but I remember Mark Henry had a sex addict gimmick. That was the whole basis for Sexual Chocolate. And we loved it because, Mark could deliver with it. I mean, he was funny, although some of the humor and storylines we found in it back then do not float today. Case in point, transphobia. I think we actually talked about this at one of the old pay-per-views. But, it's Mark. He could deliver. Like, Lashley is as wooden as it gets, and not that kind of wooden. But no, I only watched excerpts from this, so like I'm drawing a total blank. I don't care where this goes. I mean, I thought divorce court was just kind of be the be all end all, the end of this, and then okay, now they're going to have a match. Lana on a pole match, not that kind of pole. Man, I can't walk away with this without a terrible joke. Lana in an Enzo cage above the ring. I don't know. Rusev and Lashley, I think, put on a good match, but I got to shout out Facepalm Club here and just do a giant ass facepalm for that. It was painful. Hi, Kayla, Rachel, Slack, Wade. Anyone else?
Right. Anybody else who's a part of this whole Facepalm Club deal, which we still are trying, which I'm still trying to make official. I do really want this to be a thing that that I want to be posted on a T-shirt, even if it's like a little, generic one for the time being, just to have that. It just needs to be a reality, and if we can get a point where like everybody can just take a picture with the shirts on, doing face palms, I think that would just make things great. But if not by the end of the year, 2020, we're definitely getting a facepalm T-shirt going. So for those of you that are going to be
Facepalm Imperium pose.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Some really good ideas. We got them all here on the Game Changer podcast. So guys, we're going to take a little short break from all the disappointment that happened with WWE. We'll talk about some exciting stuff for AEW as well as NXT. And also, we are doing another classic review, you guys. And the Way Back When Machine is making a comeback. It's going to be very interesting because it's covering probably one of the most controversial years of 1997. We'll talk more in depth about that in just a bit, you guys. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey guys, this is NateFNGreat. Hey, have you ever wanted to be a champion but can't seem to really find the money and the time to get a championship belt? Well, you know who's a really good friend of mine? AJ from AJsBelts.com. These guys have a large assortment of championship belts, from classic belts to the modern day belts to championship belts you would not even believe. And guys, like I said, they work with you very well. With an awesome layaway program, there is no way that you can beat these guys' prices as well as these guys' deals, especially when you can give them a little bit of money every now and then until you can get that championship gold. Coming from a guy who's a champion and a game changer, I'm indeed NateFNGreat. I'm representing AJsBelts.com, proud friends of the Game Changer podcast.
Good morning, Ooses. It's DFDC, Jeff Pamatrio, the host of Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, and you are listening to the Game Changer podcast exclusively on Wrestle Addicts Radio.
I will delete you!
Broken Universe confirmed for AEW. Welcome back to the Game Changer podcast, ladies and gentlemen. A part of Wrestle Addict Radio, of course. Gotta always do a shout out to our boys, everybody over at the Wrestle Addict Radio Nation. Of course, the Kings of the Ring podcast, the Gift of Podcast, Not Your Mama's Soap Opera podcast, and the Fourth Wall WrestleCast. Definitely check them out, you guys. They are great quality workers, and they do a fantastic job of keeping wrestling real, along with us here on the Game Changer podcast. So, actually, I want to bring something up before we talk about AEW. So, Fretz, are you kind of familiar with all the drama that's kind of going on with the Hardy household?
Twitter drama?
Well, mainly Twitter drama. I mean, that's where it has to be at this point.
Is it Jeff Hardy's substance problems?
Yeah. For those of you that are not sure of what we're actually referring to, is the fact that, of course, recently we just... actually, this was actually a while back. I think that this is this had to have been like maybe a week or two ago. Jeff Hardy was caught on TMZ with a DUI. They've already reported this out. And Matt Hardy decided to be a good brother and basically talk about how he's going to be caring about his family, but he's also wishing nothing but the best for his brother to get the right help and to get better, to battle this abuse. Jeff Hardy's wife decided to chime in, basically stating that it was none of Matt Hardy's business and that they just need to back off, that they need to not get some kind of attention, blah blah blah. Basically, just not being very respectful when it came to Matt Hardy. Oh, but boy, howdy does it get good, ladies and gentlemen, because who else should chime in on this situation? Why, none other than Matt Hardy's wife, Rebby, who is a legend on Twitter. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, my God, she has probably one of the most colorful dictionaries, but also some of the most interesting tweets that you will ever see. Hashtag, fuck the owl. So Rebby basically tears down Jeff Hardy's wife, also mentioning the fact that, hey, I've been through what you've been through with Matt. And it definitely is one of those stories that is so heart wrenching, especially when you hear I think it was either. I think it was a Chronicle story that WWE did, where they had the sit down interview where they were talking about how Matt Hardy was going through all these issues, and basically Rebby gave him the option and said, you either get better or we're gone, and that gave him the inspiration to get better. Of course, obviously, after he got better, after he sobered up, we got the reunion of the Hardy Boys, and then the Broken Universe and everything like that. And Matt's still been very successful, even as of late. You think of Matt Hardy, you think of the whole Broken/Woken gimmick. It's one of the greatest gimmicks of all time. Fight me on that, I dare you. And, every now and then, Rebby will have just these times where she'll chime in on Twitter, but for this deal, she basically said that, she knows that, she doesn't know how things work with your side of the family, Mrs. Hardy. But on our side, we actually care for each other. We don't need to get attention for anything. We actually are there for each other. And that, family is closer than your so-called family, because basically it is a situation where I can't really do it too much justice. But at the same time, it is literally one of those things where you can just basically sum up like this, and you'll be all caught up with this. So my thoughts on this are that Rebby is 100% in the right. Matt and Jeff have known each other a lot longer than, I guess the name is Beth Hardy, who is Jeff Hardy's wife, has known her. She may think that she knows, Jeff Hardy better than anybody. You can make that claim, except when you're battling against Matt. Matt has you beat. So maybe Rebby went a little overboard with the whole, grabbing the attention and stuff like that. But at the same time, she's not wrong. If you're going to call Matt Hardy for, just getting attention or shit like that, you're kind of bringing that attention on yourself. So I'm in the right. I am all on the Rebby train when it comes down to it, and it's one of those things where it is relatable because there's so many people that are just saying, well, this is our family. You don't get to have a say in it, even if you are family. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Family knows better than family, okay? So this is basically where I'm going to end it off before I pass it over to you, Mr. Fretz, is that we wish nothing but the best for Jeff Hardy. We would love for him to get better, and he is hopefully getting on the right path of becoming a better person and getting completely sober. I know we've had to deal with the rough side of Jeff Hardy over these last few years, whether it has been with alcohol, with drugs. God, we don't need to relive Victory Road. But a sober Jeff is the best Jeff of all time. And a healthy Jeff is the best of all time. And it's just one of those things where, he needs to do these things better. He needs to get better. He can't put any people's lives in danger. Unfortunately, we've had situations in the past where superstars have, been intoxicated and have gone on the road. And what ends up happening? They end up putting people's lives in danger. So it's one of those situations where we can't have that happen here. And Jeff needs to get better. So wishing you nothing but the best, Jeff. Please get the help that you need to fight this. And we're all here to support you.
I have no opinion on the whole wife drama thing. I keep out of that. But I'll just say that, brothers, they know each other better than a man and a wife. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And then Jeff, I hope and pray he gets better himself. Addiction it's a disease. I mean, it's a lifelong struggle. I have a friend who's been going through some programs, and knock on wood, so far they're doing fine. But it's a constant struggle. So yeah, Jeff, get better, and I would love to see him back in the ring again, get another run with the Hardys, or even a little bit of broken Woken thing going on as well. So
bring back Brother Nero, or honestly, it seemed like they were planning on having him in the main event title picture again, which honestly I'd be okay with that. Just gotta find he's just got to get his life back together, and we'll have, the Jeff Hardy that we believed in to win the WWE title and the World Heavyweight title. Bring back that Jeff Hardy. All right, so we go from that to Wednesday Night Wars. Now, for me, unfortunately, there was a lot of things that were going on throughout this week, and I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of the stuff with AEW and NXT. But I will say that I do know the results of what happened with AEW this past week, and one thing that is for sure is that champions in AEW, very heavily heel-based, and I'll explain why I say that in just a bit. But we have new tag team champions. The first ever tag team champions of AEW have been crowned. It is 3 letters, SCU. SoCal Uncensored has been crowned the champions. They defeated the Lucha Bros in the finals. They are indeed the tag team champions, and this is going to be one of those situations where we could see when Daniels makes a comeback, could see him being a part of this and definitely getting revenge on Pentagon. Oh gosh, Pentagon Jr. versus Daniels one-on-one is just a match I would pay to see. If they put that on pay-per-view, I'd be like, here's all my money, just take it. But yeah, you kind of look at AEW, and it seems like, while NXT kind of falls under the same category, with NXT, they have more a fully fledged heel champion role. They have, Undisputed Era holding the North American, the tag team titles, and the NXT title, while Shayna Baszler holds on to the NXT women's title. With AEW, they have a little more variety for it. I think that gives them a little bit more of an edge here because of the fact that there is still a strong babyface representing the company, and that being Rio as the women's champion. You, of course, have Chris Jericho, who is the El Campeon, doing a very awesome job. A little bit of the bubbly. I had to throw that out there. And now you have SCU, who honestly, while they're getting good reactions, I still believe are considered heel, in my opinion. Now, some people might disagree and say they're kind of more tweeners, but in a world of wrestling, I try to differentiate between heels and baby faces, and Daniels, Kazarian, and Scorpio are definitely more towards the heel side of things. Yes, they can have fun, they can be interactive, but at the same time, they're still kind of the quote-unquote bad guys for this. Although, there is one team in particular that Mr. Fretz actually pointed out to me that could, in fact, combat the whole heel deal, and that being LAX, Santana and Ortiz, who did some pretty bad things this past Wednesday. They decided, hey, Rock and Roll Express, we're going to beat you down. You're a bunch of old guys? Oh, we don't care. So we have that. They're getting nuclear here. They are getting the best heat around in NXT. I think, honestly, they keep this up, they're going to be more heels, and they're going to be booed more than MJF. I don't know. I think it's going to be really crazy to see. They also had a contract signing between Cody and Jericho, which I really want to see now. Damn it all. But
it was fun. It was really, really fun. And back to the Rock and Roll Express, they came out with the ACW tag team titles. Is that your ACW in Wisconsin?
Well, did they come with ACW titles? That's interesting because when they faced off against against Famous Trash, they won by DQ. So unless they're doing like an angle where they are holding those tag titles, are you sure it was the ACW titles or the NWA tag titles? Because I know that they won tag team titles in different promotion.
They came out with tag team. They weren't NWA. It looked like it said ACW or GCW or something like. I think GCW sounds, but I'm gonna look it up right now as we go. But that beatdown, those boys are like my dad's age, and they can still take a really severe beating. Like they put Ricky Morton through the stage.
Jesus, man, I mean, it's crazy to think that there are some people that can reach that age and can still take an impressive amount of punishment, even though it's probably going to keep them in their beds for about, I'd say, a week or two, maybe a month, but maybe they're at the point where their bodies are so maybe they're so well fit that they're maybe they're still able to recover as well as the next person. But you'd think that, the older you get, the slower your body recuperates, especially if you're going, one match after another. But did you get a idea?
I was mistaken. It was actually the friggin' AEW tag titles they came out with. My lord, I just got my new prescription for my glasses. I gotta go back. But I just read here, shout out to, I don't know this person, but Silly Robo Zombie on Twitter said, for those of you who don't know, LAX wrestled the Rock and Roll Express last WrestleMania weekend in Jersey, and it was one of the best tag matches of the year so far.
Wow.
I'll take that match.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Whew, baby.
Ricky Morton can do a Canadian Destroyer.
Oh my gosh, that's very impressive. That is very impressive. I was trying to think of some other crazy things that were taking place in AEW that I thought stood out to me. Nothing too crazy, but we got to talk about the NXT side. Honestly, Fretz, how did NXT do this week? Because I know last week they definitely were very heavily favored over AEW. But how did they do this week compared to last week?
The same for me, at least. I didn't watch both shows entirely. I would start watching a bit, then kind of skip ahead just to see what would happen. Sammy Guevara had a really good match with bloody hell! What?
Hangman Page.
Yeah, well, that was a great match. Then there was a bit with during the contract signing where they jumped Dustin. Jake Hager jumped Dustin and all that, so that was all good. But we started off NXT with Io Shirai defeating Candice LeRae, and I don't know if this was a no DQ match or something, but there was a chair involved in this match. Maybe it was just they brought it in the ring and didn't get to use it, but LeRae got her nose busted open, and LeRae countered Shirai's moonsault with the knees. They did a submission. There was a rope break. A steel chair came into the match, and then LeRae was going to hit the lion salt with Shirai on top of the chair, but no, she lion salted the chair and got pinned. And then there was a big Rhea Ripley. I think someone came in, and Rhea Ripley came to the match to save Candice. Next up, we had I already referenced the Finn Balor promo, but I don't watch the business watches me. And then he promised to send Gargano back to the hospital and says, I'm going to turn him from Johnny Wrestling to Johnny Watches Wrestling.
Ooh. Ho, 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 ho.
Just great promo. I never saw Prince Devitt's heel run in New Japan, but I'm liking what I got out of Finn so far. It's like he came out to the ring, and it's like it was just nothing but dark. The spotlight was on him, and he did one with his arm raised with the theme. Then the crowd kept doing it, and he's not doing it. I thought he teased it a couple of times, but and we had Bronson Reed versus Shane Thorne, two of NXT's Aussies, and like those fans at WrestleMania X7, there was an Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi chant, and this was just a stiff AF match. They were going back and forth, hitting all these moves. Shane Thorne kept kicking him and kneeing him. He threw Thorne off the top rope when he attempted a Hurricane Rana. Bronson Reed hits a top rope splash for a win, and Bronson Reed's reminding me a lot of a young Fatu or a young Kokina Maximus, a.k.a. Yokozuna, before he was massive. Yokozuna, Kokina Maximus, his stuff in the late 80s in the NWA, he was agile. He was as big as Rikishi was in 2000. Wow. Yokozuna was. He was quick. With women's tag team match with the Kabuki Warriors going up against Team Kick, the Kabuki Warriors retained. this was I didn't watch this entire match. It was really long, but it was very good. Like, these four can put on a great match.
I definitely do want to mention this before we get too deep into this. One thing I did enjoy about the this past Monday was the Kabuki Warriors Page segment, where where Page is basically trying to talk. Kabuki Warriors are basically just not even allowing it, and then Asuka sprays Page in the face with the mist, which would allow Becky Lynch to come back. And there's been rumors escalating that this might be an indicator that they're going to have Paige return to the ring. We'll see about that, because I know that with Ciampa, I watched a bit of his chronicle that I think it was his Black Heart deal where he talks about the surgery and everything like that. I don't know if Paige had the same surgery as Ciampa where she can come back. I just know that when it comes to neck injuries, they're always very, very tricky, to say the least, because we honestly thought that we were going to have Edge in the Edge wrestling for a couple of years, but it turned out to be the neck injury happened around 2002, and he wrestled until 27, I think it was. So that was around 2001. Okay, so the point is, sometimes they can last a long time, but at the same time, with the neck injuries like that, you still have to go in for therapies and maybe even possibly for continuous surgeries. Like Kurt Angle, I think he had at least 3 neck surgeries after he had that deal in 1996. So that's the big thing right now, is that do you want to risk going through all that trauma again, or do you want to live a happy and healthy life, and still be able to have kids and be able to walk them? I remember Kurt Angle during a documentary, I think before WrestleMania 19, was saying that he wants to be able to play with his daughter. He still wants to be able to walk with her, do these things with her. So that's kind of one of those things where especially if they want kids, do you feel comfortable taking that risk of possibly ending up in a wheelchair? I don't know if I could do that. I think that's why I respect Edge so much for taking the time, taking the chance to retire when he did. Still, so many people are like, "Oh, he's coming back to return." It's like, I don't believe that. I think he's really happy with where he's at right now. I think he's doing a fantastic job with what he's done, and he creates a lot of great moments. I think the most recent one was him and Becky Lynch in the ring, where he's trying to basically talk her down and basically say, yeah, I've been in your shoes. I've had all this success, but it means nothing if you don't have anybody to share it with. And Becky makes that comment where she just says, "Get the hell out of my ring and don't hurt your neck on the way out." It's like, ooh, that's a dark deal. That's rough, but that gets her being the badass, I guess. So basically, what I'm getting out of this is that Paige coming back, we'll see what happens. I just don't want to see her ending up in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. That would just suck. And I'm hoping that Ciampa still has a couple more years left in him, but I also want him to be safe, because, oh my God, does he have the cutest kid? That little kidlet is just absolutely adorable, and I would just hate to see him in a wheelchair playing with his kids. It's one of those things where it's like, he's got a black heart, but he's got a golden heart with me, damn it, because he's got the most beautiful kid. She's adorable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, neck and back injuries and surgeries, they are tricky. I know from experience. I know a guy I went to college with who had the exact same surgery as me, spinal fusion, steel rods, and it's like I think him and I and another guy, we were all going to church, crossing the street. I hit an icy patch, boom, flat on my back.
Oh.
And I was in bed. I was only in bed for like a day and a half. Like I was working at this particular church, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming in today. So a couple of Tylenols, elevate the legs, eyes up, and I was fine. And Graham, this guy's like, he's a foot taller than me. I'm 5'5". He's about 6'6". It's like it was funny when we were in college. It's like he'd be standing at the stall having a piss, and it's like he could see me having the number 2 in the next stall. Dang. But, yeah, he was like Lurch, or no, he was kind of like the Lurch, or more like the Eagle from Muppets.
Sam, yeah.
Sam, yes, thank you. He was very dry and very, like, matter-of-factly and very stern, if you will. Pleasant guy. I haven't talked to him since college, but anyway, he'd be like, Fretz, if I had that, I'd probably be back in surgery. Like, okay, fair enough. He's a very tall, very skinny, lanky, bony guy, so maybe that's also why, but spinal fusion, it's tricky no matter what. Like, Edges has spinal stenosis. I think Sheamus has spinal stenosis. Pages, it varies from person to person. Like, when I had mine done, like, my doctor said, no contact sports for a year. You can do, like, non-contact easy sports after 6 months. And then after that, I basically have no restrictions. Like, you can be a stuntman, you can be a pro wrestler or whatever. So, that's when I thought about getting into business until I realized how many flat pack bumps I'm taking. Like, nope. Yes, it varies from person to person. And, Ciampa's surgery, I'm surprised he's back this soon after, we saw footage from it. Gross. Right. Yeah, and I told you that was like mine. But it varies. And Page's is maybe different than Edge's, or maybe Ciampa's is different than both of them, but it's really, it's a slippery slope, and, I wish nothing but the best for all of them. Page, like, maybe Page can do it, like, Edge is getting stem cell treatment, that can help, apparently. Maybe Page is doing the same thing, I don't know, but to go on to Team Kick here, as soon as I get my page open, this was just a wicked back and forth match. Asuka countered a Shiniest Wizard into a knee lock, and then I think that turned into like an armbar from Tegan. We had the Green Mist, we had the Insane Elbow, and then after that, the entire women's division came out. Like, the Horsewomen ganged up on Tegan. Shayna Baszler came out. Ripley came out. Jirai came out. Bianca Belair came out. And they just all just started fighting. And then William Regal's just like, okay, that's enough. I have one simple solution for this. War Games!
Yes! We're getting women's War Games!
The crowd, did I call that?
Yes,
did I call the women's division War Games?
Yes, you did. Oh my god.
And I don't think this is the only War Games match we're getting. Going to, as I go on here, and the crowd, as soon as Regal came out, the crowd knew. They're like, War Games, and the pop for women's War Games, and like Beth Phoenix was marking out. It was awesome. So in the Women's Revolution, we've had the first WrestleMania main event. We've had Hell in the Cell. We've had a TLC match, a ladder match, a cage match. War Games is just the next on the bucket list. I don't know what's left. And we have Io Shirai, the Kabuki Warriors, Candice LeRae, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and the MMA women. So I think it's this one's going to be a 3-faction War Games, okay, unless they're all going to coexist, like all the faces and all the heels. Although Bianca was acting a lot more heelish, just taking everybody out. Next off, we had Cameron Grimes going up against Tyler Bate, and this was just another stiff British style match. Tyler Bate's a big, strong boy. Grimes was trying to find ways to avoid the Tyler Driver 97. There was a rolling kick. There was a Tope Cornholio, whatever that move is. Cornholio, if you know what that is, people. People in my age range, fourth wall guys, you'll get that. Cornholio. That's for you, Doc.
Stop stealing fourth wall shit. We're already in trouble and we're going to wrestling's court because of you.
Because of me? All right.
Okay. I love how it's like, oh wait, it was my idea.
I have more planned.
Oh god, it's literally gonna be like we're gonna be at the Wrestle Hub Awards and it's like this is the final episode of the Game Changer podcast because somebody decided to rip out one of the guys' stuff. But you know something? Screw it. We're in a hypersensitive deal. I say let's do it. We'll rip off other people's stuff anyway, so nothing original anymore except for our stuff. It's always original.
I'm thinking of bringing back Pro Talk Wrestling because Tip of the Crown hasn't been a thing in a while. So
you know what? We definitely do need to do that. I think to start off, we should probably do a situation where we pick like 5 or we'll do like 3 tweets each and just pick the ones that we think should definitely be up for runs for this week. But we'll probably do that for next month, guys. So. I always love how we just stop a podcast and we're talking like, hey, we should do this for the show now. Maybe that's more my fault, but it shows you guys that hey, this thing is real. That we're not just doing like gimmicks or stuff like that. We're just a real podcast having real conversations. But anyway, back to Tyler Bate versus Grimes.
Yeah, so we had Killian Dane came in here and
damn you, Dane.
I think distraction. And Grimes hit the cave-in. Dane came in and attacked him after the match, so I guess we're getting a big, strong boy versus Killian Dane. And now I want to see Tyler Bate do the airplane spin on him. It's going to happen. And it was the retribution for Pete Dunne. There was a cannonball outside to the steel steps. So we're getting, Grimes got a clean win. And main event. Is this the main event? Yes. The Tag Team Championship was on the line with the Undisputed Era, or should I say Red Dragon, going up against the Limitless Bros, Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. Bro of the show. Shout out to Ant. So we had just the Riddle chants and we had a spear and a jackhammer. Undisputed Era just started double teaming Riddle before Keith Lee came in and did a hot tag, did a double clothesline, missed a second rope moonsault. Bobby Fish, impressive, lifted up Keith Lee to hit a Samoan drop, which was awesome. Riley started locking up did some kind of Kimura lock, but Keith Lee just picks him up, just gives him that Keith Lee death stare, which I can imagine looks like when you're on King Ricky's bad side. Just plows him with a one-arm powerbomb. Riddle came in with the hot tag, some exploder suplexes, a couple of Broton bombs, a couple of deadlift Germans. It looked like the champions were in trouble, and then, this has this deal for Adam Cole, Bebe, and Roddy Strong to come out to the ring to kind of surround. Riddle did a twisting Asai moonsault from the ring apron to take out the rest of the Era, and as that's happening, Keith Lee ate the total elimination. And I should mention that Red Dragon hit the tail of the Dragon finisher on Riddle during this match. Their Brainbuster was like has him up for the Brainbuster, and then Fish kicks him in the back of the head, and bam! If anyone remembers that from Ring of Honor, sick finisher. Total elimination on Riddle back in the ring, and then Ciampa declares war. He comes out, and they hit the final flash. Keith Lee throws him out of the ring. Ciampa grabs the microphone, and Goldie's sitting there in the corner, and he's like staring at Goldie and says, Goldie, you're going to have to wait. Daddy's going to war. So, 2 War Games matches, potentially.
Oh my god, yes!
I'm telling you. That's what we get. Now, this, presumably, we might be getting Team Dream as the fourth. Going to be like Ciampa. Okay, Gargano's getting his $10. So we got Ciampa, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, maybe Velveteen Dream, maybe Donovan Dijak. Either way, that's a win. I mean, that was a top-notch NXT once again. I'm loving it.
Oh my god. I just still love the fact that literally we have a guy from Wisconsin, even though I think he's being billed from Chicago, Illinois. No, he's from Wisconsin. I'm still saying that right now. Literally using the phrase "daddy" as much as he can, and it's not creepy. It's literally one of those things where it somehow fits. It works with him, and I love it. It's beautiful, and the fact that he refers to a title belt as his baby, as the whole Goldie deal, which oh gosh, it's just beautiful. I'm looking forward to that. I am so looking forward to that. Honestly, if this goes the way that you are saying it goes, where we see War Games here, there's obviously going to be like an NXT takeover around maybe like not Royal Rumble time, maybe Elimination Chamber, whichever one it is.
Not Rumble. No, Rumble's going to have Worlds Collide.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So I'm telling WrestleMania weekend.
Actually,
NXT takeover Miami. It's happening.
Yeah, could see that. Honestly, it would be kind of a crazy idea. What if Ciampa? Well, that'd be too far fetched. I was gonna say, what if Ciampa wins when Worlds Collide and he chooses to face off against Adam Cole, and he chooses a takeover, and between time Adam Cole could probably defend against like Gargano again, or maybe Velveteen Dream. Ooh, Cole versus Dream would be a really good match. I'd be okay with that.
Yep, Dreams. He's nursing his injury as a shoot, so he's actually hurt, working through a back injury right now. So he's taking his time off.
That's good.
Maybe he's ready. When is Takeover? Is Takeover like? I think it's the week. It's probably the week or two after Full Gear. I think it's the 16th would be Takeover. I'm looking at my calendar here.
No, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving is when Takeover War Games is at.
23rd. Okay.
So.
Because you weirdos celebrate Thanksgiving in November, so.
This is true. Hey, I may be a weirdo, but never mind. I got nothing. Guys, we're going to take one final commercial break, and we come back, we're going to create some havoc. Oh, boy. It's going to be some glorious, beautiful havoc. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is King Ricky Rose, your co-general manager of Wrestle Addict Radio and your host of Kings of the Rings podcast. And if you enjoy what you listen to each and every week here on Wrestle Addict Radio, we invite you to enjoy even more content from us on our exclusive Patreon page, where for just $5 a month, that's right, $5 a month, you get bonus content and commentary from each and every show here on Wrestle Addict Radio. That means bonus content from the Kings of the Rings podcast, from Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, from Fourth World WrestleCast, from the Gipta podcast, and from the Game Changer WrestleCast. So for $5 a month, go to patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, sign up. You get exclusive content, exclusive access to us pretty much 24/7, and exclusive shows that can only be found and are exclusive to Patreon. So again, folks, patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, $5 a month, all the content that you could ever want in wrestling. Enjoy.
Oh man, Johnny Gargano, a true game changer in the wrestling business, you guys. And just remember that in a couple, actually it's almost a month now, we will be having the first ever Game Changer year-end awards, the Gamies, and it's going to be an awesome deal. And I'm going to tell you this right now, I'm going to make an exclusive special announcement that you can only hear on the Game Changer podcast. You definitely will not hear anywhere else. So be sure to tune in for that. First edition of the Gamies will feature that special announcement. It's going to be absolutely insane. But of course, we are the Game Changer Network, part of the Wrestle Addict Radio Network. I'm NateFNGreat, joined here by Mr. Fretz. Oh boy, guys, gonna do the cheap plugs again. Then we'll get into talking about this event because it is pretty good. Of course, gotta check out everybody on Patreon, part of the Wrestle Addict Radio Network. It's always awesome to check out the extra content that you guys can only get for how much? By only a $5 deal. I mean, honestly, you're paying less than the WWE Network to get exclusive content. You can't get any better than that. People from the Fourth Wall WrestleCast, from the Gift of Podcast, from the Kings of the Rings, as well as Not Your Mama's Soap Opera Podcast. So many great programs, so many great content on there you cannot get anywhere else. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about 1997. Let's talk about the Montreal Screwjob. Oh, wait, that was a couple months later. Wait, I'm sorry. Backtrack. Oh, Halloween Havoc. Even better. It's only fitting. We're doing this on Halloween. We might as well talk about one of the best Halloween Havocs compared to what was probably one of the worst Halloween Havocs. So, this happened, of course, you know what? Hold on. I gotta get the right notes for this. I gotta do this here. But before we get too deep into this, Mr. Fretz, we will turn it to you because I believe that you have some very interesting facts about the year 1997 during this time.
Well, not really, because we covered Bad Blood a couple weeks ago, and this is just a couple of weeks after Bad Blood. So you've already heard the Wayback Machine for here. You know, I'm in 8th grade, and whatever movies and whatever games came out, I forget. I didn't do it for this particular one because October 97, you already know. If you listen to Bad Blood, cheap plug. There's one of those shows that I watched it for the first time, like, this week, so it was fun.
Yep. Okay, that's fair. I did actually forget about that. Okay, so Halloween Havoc took place on October 26, 1997, at Paradise, Nevada, at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. 12,457 people are in attendance here, with the tagline, "Snap into the madness." God help me, Yeah, Mr. Fretz kind of pointed out, you're going to be hearing a lot of Slim Jim plugs when it comes to this. But it does have on the cover of the VHS cover, oh my god, VHS, that was, that was my childhood. We have the Halloween Havoc logo on there, and it has Hogan versus, oh my gosh, that is insane. Hogan versus Piper in a steel cage match. Honestly, you guys, it's one of those main events. It's like, I'm kind of excited to hear about this one. I'm kind of excited to see this one. So, it's very interesting. But we have a little bit that we have to get into before we get into that whole ordeal. So, we start off with Yuki Nagata versus Ultimo Dragon. Ultimo Dragon, a guy I have not seen in quite a while. The last time I think I remember seeing him wrestle was WrestleMania 20 when we did that review earlier this year. And honestly, pretty good matchup to start off. Definitely had introduced like the fast-paced style, the exclusive deal that you could only get on the WCW Nitro deal. So it was really cool to see that. Any notes or anything worthy that we wanted to talk about, Mr. Fretz?
Yep, I like this match. This was a feud that was kind of going on like WCW Saturday Night or on their B show, their C show. I think it was called Myth, but I forget. But yeah, we had Sonny Ono, and he took a selfie with a camera there, like a disposable camera. So I'm like, oh, people did selfies in 1997. How about that? And there was a point in time, I think just before this, where Ultimo Dragon had like 10 belts, and one of those belts I believe was the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, because that was defended for several years before it came over to the WWF, like that year. And I think notable people that have held that title, I believe, it's Ultimo Dragon, Jushin Thunder Liger, Chris Benoit, to name a few. I'm actually going to look up the history of it while we go on here. So there's some really nice pyro. Ultimo Dragon's offense always got a pop. You know, Sonny Ono used to be his manager, and then kind of turned on him and recruited Yuji Nagata from Japan. So, yeah, I think he's been wrestling at a couple of New Japan shows, maybe like Wrestle Kingdom Battle Royals or something. So it was a really... it was good here. The history here, so we have... never mind. I won't get it out right now. There's a nice headstand kick, and reminded me that this guy is definitely a Hitmonlee, a kick type of Pokemon that evolved from Tyrogue, so big shout out there. A nice pile driver. The Flock came out to... This is when we saw the Flock come out to the ring, and then Ultimo Dragon hits his namesake Acai Moonsault, of which he is the inventor of, because Acai is his name. The Dragon Sleeper got a really, really good pop, and of course Yuji hits the ropes. There's a nice Dragon Rana. There's Ultimo Dragon was selling the arm, and there's a Fujiwara armbar and a clean tap-out win by Yuji Nagata. Very, very good match.
It was very
now it was Viano 3, Chris Adams, Piero Aguayo, Viano 3, the Great Sasuke, Ultimo Dragon, there it is, Ultimo Dragon, Jushin Thunder Liger, El Samurai, Shinjiro Otani. Whew, that's quite impressive. No, I was mistaken. Chris Benoit did not have this title. I thought the Pegasus Kid definitely had this belt, but it was kind of funny. It was in the WWF.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, honestly, this was a pretty good matchup to start off. Like you said, the matchup, post-match, we got to see Yuji and Ono beat down on Ultimo Dragon, just because they can, really. And kind of ends on that. We get backstage, we see Disco Inferno, the television champion. He is talking with the guys back there when they had those 1-800 call numbers where you could actually talk to the wrestlers. So he was back there talking to a couple people there, but he was being chased by Jacqueline. Hey, Jacqueline versus Disco Inferno. That's a matchup that's on this card. Did it deliver? We'll talk about that when we get to it. Next up, we had... what's up?
Nate, can I interject? I'm on the I'm on our KOTR chat, and Kayla Kelly just said that on the Cultaholic charity stream for Crown Fool, Ross is dressed up as Brother Love. I have to find this right now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh man. So, well, if you want to check that out while I get into this next matchup, by all means, just have at it. So the next matchup was a Guido versus Chris Jericho. Another really good matchup, another showcase of the cruiserweights. And honestly, this was a thing before they got into the whole, conspiracy theory Jericho. So he was kind of like that fresh baby face, getting all happy, like, come on, baby, getting everybody excited. The one thing that stood out to me during this matchup was a very scary Frankensteiner that was in here. Guido was on the corner, and Chris Jericho was going to deliver the Frankensteiner. I don't know if Jericho just didn't get enough torque, or if something else happened, but it literally looked like Jericho spiked himself on his head with this Frankensteiner attempt. That was just one of those things where I'm thinking to myself, oh God, how does Jericho not have neck problems? What? And he just continued. It was just one of those things where I thought I saw him spike his neck and continue like nothing. It's like, how is he not holding his neck? What the heck? Either I'm missing something or he is that strong. what the heck? But honestly, really good matchup. We see Jericho locking the Lion Tamer, not the Walls of Jericho, the Lion Tamer, which I think is his better finisher, onto Guido. Guido taps out. Chris Jericho picking up a victory here. I mean, like you said, it's a good matchup. Doesn't really, improve anything. It doesn't really take away from anything. It's one of those matches where it's like, hey, cruiserweights, here you go. It's like, okay, I'm okay with this. But then we get into the next matchup. Oh boy, it's going to be a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, what were your thoughts on this matchup between Jericho and Guido?
Oh, I was going to try and put the Brother Love screen cap in the window there, but I'll send it to the group chat for you. It's amazing. Gato, I think was one of his trainers, or at least one of his dojos, or Chris Jericho was one of his young boys in Japan. So this is a nice nod for that. That there was like a super bomb Hearn Conrana botch. I think he referenced that. Yeah, I didn't write anything down. It was just basic Jericho match. I think he was trying to be a little bit of a heel. So, but I'll be full circle a year later before he'd be heel. So, yeah. Did I have? No, I just wrote something down for the next match. I didn't write a lot down because this next match was top tier.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I got some pretty good notes when it came to this because I think after during the next matchup, I did start taking more notes, so that way I'm just not saying, oh, random shit, this happened, boom, done, that kind of deal. So I'm trying to get back into the deal of that. But we actually did have a segment where I have it titled Soap Opera Drama, and then I'm thinking to myself, what does that mean? And I remembered, oh, yeah, that's right, because of this bullshit. We had Deborah backstage talking to the interviewers. I guess it was a situation where if her selected man would have lost, then she'd be gone from WCW or something like, I don't know. Something really stupid where basically Deborah's being put up as like, I don't know, like this gold digger or some shit. Oh, wait, no, it is basically a gold digger deal. Like, she wants all the money, she wants all this, and blah, blah, blah. And then Steve McMichael came in basically saying, yeah, you were a tramp, and blah, 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 everything like that. Just literally one of those things where it's like, wow, this literally is a soap opera. Man, I never thought I'd say this, but soap opera and wrestling do in fact go hand in hand, especially here in 1997. I do want to do a side note when you were talking about the Raven and his nest. One of the highlights of this entire event is whenever they would go to them in the crowd, because Raven, Billy Kidman, and Steven Richards, they're just literally in the crowd. They just pan over to these guys. You literally see Raven and Billy Kidman. They're just sitting there, kind of like fickle, just sitting there like, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And here's Steven Richards, who sticks out like a sore thumb in this group. He's all happy. He's got these signs. He's waving. It's just one of those things where it's like, wow, how did this work for so many years? Steven Richards, you're amazing. Oh man, just don't worry. When you're paired up with Victoria, you are going to be her eye candy. Just remember that. Just remember that.
I forgot he was there, actually, in WCW.
I actually did too. I think I remember he was in ECW when they were doing a lot of like the parody stuff with him and Blue Meanie, and then they did UWO, and it was like, yep, here comes his career. It's taken off. And then he just started being Raven's lackey in WCW, and then his run with WWF, which was just him kind of being there. He had some interesting storylines. Do you remember his storyline with Chris Masters where his nose legitimately got broken?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. I was going to reference Right to Censor. I mean, that was the highlight of his career. that gimmick was nuclear heat before nuclear heat was nuclear. Like, by goodness. He did like a Polish. It was like his Masters debut match. He did the Polish Hammer right in Steven's face.
Yeah, it was one of those things where would only be bested by the Seth Rollins knee to John Cena's face, where his nose literally looked like a lightning bolt on his face. Or the Hardy Boys, Paul London, Brian Kendrick, Joey Mercury ladder God.
spot.
Yep, nope, that takes the cake. Oh God. You know what? Too graphic for me. Happy thoughts. Okay, perfect match.
Ray versus Eddie. Go. Ray versus Eddie.
Yes.
Happy thoughts.
Yes, very, very happy thoughts. So the WCW Cruiserweight title is on the line here, as well as Rey Mysterio's mask. So, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero for the Cruiserweight title. One thing that I will say I enjoyed about this is that when the Eddie Guerrero DVD came out, I actually got the chance to watch this matchup while having Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero were on commentary with Michael Cole, where they were talking about the matchup. Rey Mysterio mentioned that there were a lot of moves on here that he could only do that one time, where nothing else kind of clicked or worked for him. Whenever he tried to do it any other time, it was just one of those things where it's like, I only did this move one time, and that was it. So there's a couple spots in here that was really great. Rey Mysterio has his mask embedded to his jumpsuit, which was actually a really smart idea because that prevents him from removing the mask. And maybe there's some people that would be like, oh, but that just means Rey's going to lose. I don't know about that. Because during this matchup, we do see Eddie Guerrero basically trying to tear off the mask and try to stretch it a bit, try to remove it from him. But like I said, third line on here, I have mask versus title, Rey versus Eddie. Me very happy. Rey Mysterio definitely involves a lot of his acrobatics in this matchup. Eddie tries to use those acrobatics against him, which he does on a couple of occasions. One move that we loved that Fretz talked about earlier was that backflip DDT from the top rope onto Eddie. Oh, that was just a thing of beauty. There's also a very classic moment where Eddie Guerrero has Rey Mysterio in the Tree of Woe, and Eddie tries to go for the baseball slide to Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio gets up, Eddie baseball slides himself and his crotch into the ring pole. That was amazing. Oh man, that was just great. There was a 619 variation where Rey Mysterio just swings around. He does a head scissors to Eddie Guerrero to get him out of the ring. Then he does this flip over move over the top rope into the head scissors. Which I look at these moves, I'm just like, man, Rey Mysterio, you got to try to bring these moves back. That's amazing. Matchup ends with Eddie Guerrero going for the crucifix bomb off the top rope. The is that
Splash Mountain?
Splash Mountain. Thank you. I almost forgot that move. Actually, I did. He goes for the Splash Mountain on Rey. Rey counters with the head scissors. 1, 2, 3. We have a new Cruiserweight champion in Rey Mysterio, and he keeps his championship. He's looking to the camera. He's talking Spanish. Eddie, classic sore loser Eddie, attacks Rey Mysterio, throws him out. And I will say this, one of the things I always love about these the commentaries in the Eddie Guerrero DVD deal is some of the things he says when he's being a sore loser. And one thing I just want to raise, just saying cheap shot. And he's just like, whatever. But my favorite one is where they do commentary. It's him and Rob Van Dam in the ladder match on Raw for the IC title. And Rob's celebrating his victory, and a ladder just comes out of nowhere. Of course, it's Eddie hitting him with the ladder. We just hear people go hey, wait a minute. Boo. And Eddie just chuckles. He's like, the ladder fell on you, man. What can I say? It's classic Eddie. God dang it. This was an amazing matchup. This was match of the night. And everybody always references this matchup when they want to see the best of Rey Mysterio. I know Saul Monster actually did a top 8 or not top 10 Rey Mysterio matches of all time, and this was his number one on there. And honestly, it's a hard number one to top because you can mention a lot of other things, whether it's the match between Rey and Prince Puma at Lucha Underground, or Rey versus Chris Jericho in that mask versus title matchup, ironically enough. But there's nothing that can touch this mask versus title match between Eddie and Rey. They just have a great chemistry with each other, and everything on this during this matchup was just absolutely perfect. There was no way that you could replicate it or even top this.
Absolutely, you said it best. I mean, that backflip DDT spot was just, that was the move that I gave my creative guy as a finish, as a secondary finisher in every SmackDown game that it had. And that's the splash match. I didn't take a lot of notes. I'm just like, I just want to sit here and enjoy this match. The Splash Mountain Bomb into the Hurricanrana was a thing of beauty. These two were just as crisp as it gets in the ring. Like I think they were in the ring like since they were both teenagers. They grew. Yeah, I think when Eddie and Ray had their career starts down in Mexico, I think they were even in the ring back then. Every match they've had, even their one at like WrestleMania 21, which a lot of people think is not their best, still good. Still good.
No, I definitely agree with that. We have a backstage segment with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. Basically, they're stating to the, I almost said TNA management. Jeez Louise, that's not until way later on. To WCW management, they're just like, we're not going to fight in this cage match, brother, until we know for a fact that Sting is not going to be in the arena. Otherwise, we're going to leave. And all throughout the deal, all the way until they made the announcement, literally they were just mentioning that, like, oh, Hogan could probably leave right now. Oh, he's not leaving. Hogan's going to leave. They're not leaving, blah, blah, blah. This was just one of those things where it did showcase the fact that they had the whole NWO deal just overtake so much of the programming, and it sucked. Next matchup we have is Steve McMichael versus Alex Wright with Deborah in his corner. What do I have to say about this? For me, boring matchup. In comes Goldberg. Goldberg destroy. Goldberg win. Alex wins. Goldberg destroy. Goldberg gets shiny ring. Goldberg leave. This was literally like, I just could not care so much about this matchup. I didn't understand the story behind it. Match itself was nothing really too predominantly interesting. It was just one of those things where I was like, it's there. It's just there. Only highlight was Goldberg coming in, and somehow the referee does not hear the spear and jackhammer, which I call BS on that. But he came in and he's just like, yeah, I'm nobody's team. Yeah, you get the win. Yeah, I get my ring. Goldberg happy. Goldberg destroy. Goldberg help person win. Goldberg destroy other person. Goldberg get ring. Goldberg happy. That's all in a day's work for Goldberg. But I don't know. Maybe I missed something here. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
I was actually watching WCW at this point in time, so I can vaguely recall the storyline. Well, Mongo and Goldberg are both their former football players. I think that ring was, it might have been Mongo's Super Bowl rings. I think he won a Super Bowl with who won the Super Bowl in the 90s? Mongo won it with, I think maybe with the Bears, and I think Goldberg was with the Raiders. I'm not well versed in football. That's maybe because I cheer for the Kansas City Chiefs, who are mediocre at best this year, but they just got Priest Holmes back. I know diddly crap about football. I'm Canadian. My expertise is hockey. So yeah, it was like a Super Bowl ring storyline in here. Actually, I would have thought Goldberg would have been the person that Deborah would get to be in her corner to go against Mongo. Goldberg was a heel at this point in time. He was just starting his streak. Like maybe a month before this, he was still getting booed, but it was probably not until about World War III or Starrcade where his pops and his career really started taking off. And yeah, I'm gonna say he's there for no reason, and it was yeah, Alex Wright, the dancing fool, the future Berlin. That's old school bad WCW, and big love, big shout out to Mance, who's been covering that. There was the thing on Mance has been feeling rough. I think he had something with his back, so positive vibes and all the best wishes to the gift of podcast, to the Reverend himself. Just this match was nothing.
Yep, and I will definitely add on to that. Definitely Monday Night Delight. Mance, we wish you nothing but the best and hopefully a speedy recovery. We love you to see you back from the Wrestle Addict Radio family. we go into the next deal, which was a Macho Man with Slim Jim style promo. So much Slim Jim mentioned in this promo. It also featured Elizabeth, not Miss Elizabeth, but Elizabeth in this. And honestly, it's one of those things where this was still at a point where it's like, man, she's still beautiful. Even like without, the fancy dresses and stuff like that, she looks incredibly attractive. But I was not too sure how she was going to be when it came to being a heel. You'll kind of understand maybe a little more why a little later on when we get into matchup between Macho Man and not Hangman Page, Diamond Dallas Page. That matchup I'm looking forward to talking about. But we go into the next matchup, which is an unsanctioned quote-unquote matchup between Disco Inferno and Jacqueline. The first time ever that we're seeing a woman and a man battling in the ring at a WCW event. Honestly, this isn't bad. And I will say this, that the crazy thing about this is that about 12 years later, Disco Inferno would kind of be doing the same thing, but with Scarlett Bordeaux. So it is kind of weird to see, about 12 years later, history kind of repeats itself in a weird way. This matchup featured a lot of Disco running around the ring and just not even attempting to fight her. It was kind of one of those things where they were just basically heavily hitting about the whole deal. It's like, well, you can't really hit a woman. You can't really punch her and stuff like that. So it's kind of those things like, okay, WCW's at least being kind of smart about this. We get like what looks like a Jacqueline nip slip, which I think was why probably so many people were going like, hey! And I just see her kind of fixing her her ring attire. Definitely, Jacqueline was proving that women aren't fragile. I can definitely tell you right now that she was definitely one of the toughest women that I've seen in this entirety of the entire deal. I will say this, that even though it kind of went on a little too long, the more it progressed, I feel like the better it got. Because finally then Jacqueline was able to get like some punches, some slaps and stuff on Disco. Disco doesn't even lay much of a punch. He tries basically to get a pinfall on Jacqueline early after I think it was a missed. I think it was like some kind of missed move, but he's thinking, "Oh, please no! Tell me that was three. Tell me that was three. I don't want this matchup to keep going." A beautiful float over DDT by Jacqueline. That was great. Disco Inferno would get rolled up eventually by Jacqueline for the victory. Jacqueline wins the matchup. Like I said, it's not a bad matchup. I think it gets a slow start, but then it kind of picks up near the end. And honestly, not bad. Not bad at all. I kind of enjoyed this matchup. It was kind of like a guilty pleasure where it was like, it is kind of bad, but at least it had some highlights. At least it was good.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through. Cain Velasquez just got mega squashed. I just wanted to bring it up just for the shits. Twitter is having a meltdown right now.
Of course,
yeah. Thank God. Jackie, aka Miss Texas. If you go back and look up some of her, it had to be early NWA or even her USWA stuff. She's been wrestling men since the 80s and kicking all of their ass. And not that I noticed, but I think it was cold in the arena, if you catch my drift. And Jacqueline, well, those big fake plastic boobs have come out on more than one occasion in WWE, so it was no surprise that there might have been a slip there. At a UK show, actually, she was like on the shoulders of a referee. Sable rips off her top, and there they are, because you can show tits in the UK. But it's like, yeah, she it looked like she was like holding it or adjusting it a lot. If this was OSW, they'd be doing like Jock's Watch. Like they did a bit with Ronda Rousey, like how many times she'd pull up her pants or adjust herself during a match, and it got to like 17, I think. Or Becky Lynch was doing the same thing. It's a running joke. Watch OSW, folks. Yeah, a whole bunch of mind games. Disco Inferno is trying to avoid Jackie and just being well. This is 1997. I mean, you're being a coward. Because, oh, you don't want to get beat up by a girl, do you? But this is what This is intergender wrestling before intergender wrestling, but as I've said, Miss Texas Jackie has been wrestling guys since the 80s. And, like, she could kick the ass out of literally everyone in that locker room. She could kick the locker room's ass today. This is just a classic game of cat and mouse. There was a nice DDT. There was a crossbody reversal and a nope. Drop toe hold, sunset flips, bunch of mind games. This is where I noticed Stevie Richards was in the crowd, and this is your classic battle of the genders, battle of the sexes, whatever you want to call it. It was what it was. I've seen better intergender wrestling. I mean, look at Tessa versus Sammy.
Yeah, no, I think we've definitely evolved since 1997 when it comes to that. Oh God, that stare down, and I want Tessa to be champion so badly now. We'll see what happens.
It's going to happen. Even if it's a brief reign. I mean, I'm like, spoilers are out, but this has already happened on this week's Impact, so spoilers not anymore. But Sami Callihan, now that he's the champion, he should have won at Bound for Glory. This is always weird. There's been a past couple of Bound for Glories where the wrong result, championship-wise, happened, and then a week later, on like the next Impact on TV, they win. I think it's like when Austin Aries was going for the title, the same thing happened. That's back when they were on. That's back when it was on friggin' Spike.
Maybe. The one that kind of stood out to me was the one with Bobby Roode, where he won the Bound for Glory series, faced off against Kurt Angle, had a good matchup. Kurt Angle won by hook or by crook, and then a week later they had the whole. Actually, it was like the Impact later. They had James Storm win the title off of Kurt Angle, and then they had James Storm versus Bobby Roode, where Bobby Roode won the title and had the longest reign in Impact Wrestling history.
Yes.
Another reason why I love Bobby Roode.
Good.
Yeah. I was about to say, right heel. It's like it was a heel, just the wrong heel, wrong dirty heel. Yeah, you got my reference. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Austin Aries and Bobby Roode were heels, and they were known as the Dirty Heels as a tag team. It was kind of cool. Anyway, let's get into a matchup that is a bit about the heels. The U.S. title matchup, which we had Curt Hennig defending against Ric Flair. So this is a matchup I kind of enjoyed because there's so much history between these two guys. If you remember earlier on, I think it was even earlier on in the 90s, where Curt Hennig and Ric Flair, they were kind of an item together. Hennig was the manager of Ric Flair. He was there when he won the WWE title. And also we got the deal where Curt Hennig ended Ric Flair's quote-unquote WWF career on Raw, where he pinned him in a loser leaves WWF matchup. So this was kind of an interesting ordeal. Having all that history, I'm thinking, okay, now they're kind of transitioning it into WCW. How could they possibly do that? First thing I see, Curt Hennig coming out with the Ric Flair robe, but the sleeves completely cut off. To where I'm like, oh shit, this is going to get good. And was I right? As soon as we got into the Challenger deal, music hits, here comes Flair, he bolts in, and I just have right here, Flair looking to kill Curt Hennig. And to be honest, that was a good majority of this matchup, where Flair was just very, very physical with this matchup. This was a matchup where there were very few covers in this matchup, and there was a lot of physicality. So that definitely showcased that this matchup was beyond the whole technical style of wrestling. That this was definitely a more personal matchup, and I liked it. I liked the fact that they were more focused on beating the ever-living hell out of each other more than the whole. Oh, well, we should cover each other. Quick, cover quick. No, it seemed like Curt Hennig and Ric Flair literally had a vendetta against each other. So it was like, well, how do we can't just beat them right away. We have to, make these guys suffer. So, worked out really nicely. There was a close call with the missed chair spot to hit. Oh, that's right. Curt Hennig was going to go for a chair where I think he had Ric Flair's head. No, I think it might have been Flair. Yeah, I think it was Flair that did this. Flair was going to hit Curt Hennig with the steel chair. He had him wedged with his head with the ring post. Ric Flair misses. Thank God for that. Curt Hennig with a very nice catapult deal. Oh my gosh, this was great. Really good matchup. The finish kind of it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, huh, that's interesting. So basically, Curt Hennig gets put into like this tree of woe. Then Ric Flair takes the WCW United States Championship, puts it on Curt Hennig's face, and then he just stomps on the belt with his face right behind it. And the match is ended. It's a DQ finish. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, I would have been this matchup. I think I would have been okay with a DQ finish if it wasn't just such a lame DQ finish. I just felt like that, you know, whole belt to the face deal. Unless he was going to get, you know, have the title belt and just whap him upside the head, that's one thing. But just have him be like, oh, hey, look, here's your championship. I'm going to put it across your face and then stomp your face into it. Okay, now that I say that, I think that was actually better. Because now it is kind of one of those things where it's like, thinking it out loud, it actually does make him sound more cool. So, honestly, I thought this was a really good matchup. I think it's definitely one of those matches where it's like, okay, WCW is starting to really hook me back in. I kind of like it. So, what were your thoughts on this match?
Before we do, I was just scrolling Twitter and I came across Wrestle Features breaking. I don't know if this is legit or not, but Survivor Series will feature Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT.
Whoa.
If that's legit, I mean, I don't know if I trust Wrestle Features. I mean, there's a few other fans tweeting about that. I'm going to put a pin in that. I'll believe it when I see it later. But wow. So yeah, Hennig and Flair. You know, this whole time, like, I think only recently I realized that Kurt's last name didn't have an N in it. If you look, it says Hennig. This is a classic case of what's that? What's that thing called? The Mandela effect.
Oh, okay.
It's like the Bernstein Bears. Like, I can tell you how it's spelled because my nephew has my old Bernstein Bears books. Yeah, this was a great feud, and I totally forgot about their history. Like 1992 Royal Rumble. That's a review in the new year. Like, I totally forgot about Perfect being in Flair's corner this whole time. That's when Perfect had his back injury, and then this, of course, stemmed from when Hennig came to WCW. He was going to join the Horsemen and join Ric Flair against the fight against the NWO, but Swerve Bro shut the head into the steel cage at War Games, which looked brutal. Like, I think Ric Flair's head, like, hair was still standing there. We saw a nice corner figure 4, a really good brawl, a really good chop off, some head slams into the cage. Oh yeah, there was a. No, I'm looking into different notes here. I think because I have sleeper. Did I put my Hogan versus Piper notes in the Flair versus Hennig column?
You may have.
I may have. Anyways, there was that tree of, unless they did a sleeper in a runaway spot and maybe the cage came down or something, I don't know. But there was a really nice, that tree of woe with the belt to the face spot looked like, that's something the Fiend would do. Or that's something that would happen in, what would have potentially happened in that Fiend and Rollins match, you know. Get the belt in Fiend's face, and Seth Rollins just takes a sledgehammer to it, just does like a what's that? Test your strength spot at the county fair with the bell.
Oh yeah. That yeah.
Yeah, just ring his bell like that, and then you keep going and going from there. Hey, I just rewrote the match with the same stupid finish. How about that? And then we see, oh my goodness, it's that big tub of lard piece of crap, Mark Madden.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't know he was in WCW back here. and those of us who are into hockey, I mean, he does a lot of I don't know, vlog or sports writing. He does a lot of stuff with or for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And there was a bit a few years ago on a podcast from Toronto I listened to called the Steve Dangle Podcast. Hilarious, by the way. Even if you're not a Leafs fan, it's really, really funny. And they were making fun of these Mark Madden bits. I can't remember what they were because it was like 6-7 years ago, but Mark Madden is just unintentionally hilarious, and he doesn't know it. Like,
right.
It got to the point where I think he was actually on their show, and like he went along with the joke, but I could tell Mark Madden's like, "You punks,
you motherfuckers."
Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah. Oh, I've wrestled Mean Gene. What have you done? Let's forget about that.
It's like I'm taking a shit. I think it's a little more of an accomplishment. So I want to say this. I stand corrected when I talked about the Macho Man deal earlier. He was doing like a Slim Jim style deal. I think probably promoting Slim Jim. But during this one, this is the interview where he talks about DDP, and this is where we saw Elizabeth. But I put down so much nothing. Like, literally, he talked a lot, but nothing was really said. I don't know. This was weird for me. We had J.J. Dillon come out, and now the main event was still going on. And when it came to the Sting, it's like, Hogan, that's your problem, man. That's whatever. That's whatever. And Bischoff is just coming out. It's like, no, this is it. Travesty, we're going to leave. And J.J. Dillon pulls out the contract that they signed and said, hey, this is going to happen, whether you like it or not. We have Eric Bischoff, pissing and moaning, as only Eric Bischoff can do. Let's just hope that wasn't his last deal when he was fired from the company just a few months ago. It feels like a few months ago, but I think it was only last month. Either way.
It was like last week.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah, it feels like... How is it the end of October? 2019's almost over. Like,
it's crazy. Crazy, man.
Like, it's crazy. Like, in, let's see. Yeah, in like 2-3 weeks, my nephew's turning 5. Where did this go? We're going to 2020 for...
Oh, man. I'll tell you this right now. If you thought 2019 was crazy, guys, you have not seen 2020. I've got big plans for 2020. You do not want to miss out on that. But let's get into this next matchup here. We have Scott Hall with 6 taking on Lex Luger, and the special guest referee for this matchup, Larry Zbyszko, who, I'm going to say this right now, after watching this matchup, Larry Zbyszko is probably my all-time favorite referee.
Yep.
And there's a lot of examples as to why. We're going to talk about that. Funny enough, I thought that X-Pac's name of 6 was with 3 X's. That was unintentional, mind you, but it does kind of...
That was a few years later.
That is true. That's why it's funny. It's like, that was unintentional, because obviously that goes into his career move years later. But it was kind of those things where somebody had a 6 sign out there, and I'm like, oh, it's with 2 X's. Oh, that's not going to be something funny to bring on the podcast. The matchup starts off with a lot of wear-down holds. Larry Zbyszko tries to, make the counts. 6 is just basically screaming out 3s so many times. I thought that was just hilarious. One thing I noticed with Larry Zbyszko is that when it comes to his 3 counts, he counts a little bit slower than when he does the 10 counts to the outside. With the 3 counts, like 1, 2, 3, that kind of stuff. With the 10 counts, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like faster, and I'm kind of like, I kind of like this. This kind of makes the match go by faster. So yeah, we have these kind of weird wear down maneuvers and shit like that. But then when Luger got his advantage by hitting a couple moves, crowd starts waking up and starts getting really into it. Luger is about to get the advantage, but Eric Bischoff gets involved, and he actually one-ups a deal on Scott Hall, and he also gives a really good shot on Eric Bischoff, which was awesome. Six uses the distraction to kick Luger in the back of the head. Razor's Edge. Scott Hall pins Lex Luger. Goes up the rampway, and it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess that's kind of it. Then Larry Zbyszko screaming like, show the replay. I'm like, why does he want to show the replay? They show the replay, and he just says, you know what? Nope. I'm restarting the matchup. It's like, oh my god. A referee who actually restarts the match after seeing a replay? That is awesome. We never see that anymore because referees nowadays are really stupid. we see the match restart. Scott Hall gets in the ring, gets caught into the torture rack for the victory, and then we would see a beatdown on Lex Luger as well as on Larry Zbyszko for doing his job, for being a good person. And I will say this, Eric Bischoff beats down Larry Zbyszko. There comes a point where he's doing like a deal where he's covering Larry Zbyszko. Scott Hall does a mock 3 count. And Tony Schiavone, with one of my favorite lines ever, he says the phrase, "Mama, I want to be a wrestler." To which I was on the ground laughing, thinking, oh my god, Tony Schiavone, the man with the burn. That was awesome. So the match itself was decent. It wasn't really anything really too crazy. Larry Zbyszko was the highlight of this matchup. I absolutely thought that his officiating was just so beautiful. And I think he's my role model when it comes to being a referee now. I really want him to do more referee-style matches. It was just great. Just absolutely great. Do you have anything to add or anything more to put into this?
Oh, yeah. Like, I love that Larry just... He takes no crap. He was one of the leaders against the Brigade, like against the NWO. Like on commentary, he's just always giving out about them on commentary. And damn it, OSW, damn it, Jay Hunter, you ruined Lex Luger for me. Listen to Lex's selling in every match he's in. He's like, ow, loud. He's selling loud. I think there's even like a compilation of it. I think someone from OSW or some fan of the show. Pardon me, I did not get enough sleep. I never do. So Lex he's selling loud, like wow, ow, and there's a part where Larry takes X-Pac to Larryland. You know, that guillotine choke finisher. That was his old wrestling finisher from the 70s and 80s.
That's right.
Like, I'm going to take you on a trip to Larryland. And, of course, we're setting up Zbyszko versus Bischoff. Oh, excuse me again. To carry on the feud. And after that Razor's Edge, you can tell there was a reluctant count. And why is there not instant replays in wrestling every match? I mean, I don't want to do it every match because, like, hockey, NHL just introduced the Coach's Challenge. It's the stupidest. I'm going to be a good boy and not swear, although I probably already have. The stupidest freaking thing I've ever seen. I mean, it's in football for, like, oh, if your guy's just, like, 2 inches offside, or if the ball doesn't reach the end zone, or there's like a controversy where you're in a scrum. I don't watch football, clearly. You're in a scrum, you're in a tackle, and you go and reach to the goal line, and you just get there. Like, there was some kind of controversy at the Super Bowl about that, I think. Yeah. And in hockey, it's just like you're skating, and if there's something to do with your stride, and if that's offside, the coach can just go, if there's a goal on that play, oh no, Coach's Challenge, let's go. I mean, back in the day, actually just 2 years after this, we did 1999, and the Dallas Stars won the Stanley Cup that year when Brett Hull had his foot in the crease. And that back then, that was a no-no. Like, now you can just, like, cross-check the goalie and put the puck in the net, and they'll probably count it. And then Wendy Ruff, the former coach of the Buffalo Sabres, who was in the finals against the Dallas Stars. It's like they're having a party. It's like, hey, yeah, we lost the Stanley Cup, but we got to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is our end of the season party because Buffalo likes to celebrate losing. It's like, okay, I got 2 words for you, and then summer begins. No goal. So, off on that tangent, it's like, wrestling should have some form of instant replays or, geez, even the commentator, like, throws the flag down into the ring or something.
Oh, my God, yes. Yeah, the final fall is under official review. Oh, my God, that'd be amazing.
Then you'd have, like, some of those matches that end with, like, say when KO had his foot under the ropes when Shane McMahon was the referee, then you get, like, Greg Hamilton throws the flag. I'm just saying wrestling, everybody. Let's go, but don't overkill it like they do in the NHL. It slows down the game when it drives me nuts.
Right. There should be certain situations like interference or stuff like that where it would work. Like if it's in a tag match, that's one thing. But if it's like a manager deal, that's one thing where it's like that's another thing where it's like, okay, yeah, you need to replay this. We get a little plug for World War III because why not? We get into what is probably my favorite matchup of the night. As much as I love Ray versus Eddie, I kind of really like this matchup. Macho Man versus Diamond Dallas Page in a Las Vegas sudden death match. And okay, while I say this is my favorite, I do have 2 issues when it comes with this. The first one being how they introduced this matchup. Was that countouts don't count in this. No DQs, no pinfalls, no stuff like that. You can only win by having your opponent not withstand the count of 10. Do you see the problem I have here? Do you see the problem I have? Okay, so you can't win by count.
It's the Fiend versus Seth Rollins. This is what this is.
It's like, so you can't lose by count out, but as long as the person doesn't stand for a 10 count, you win.
Last man standing.
It's
a last man standing match.
It is that, but you know, WCW, we're the innovators of stuff that we know could probably be better. I'm sure. So Macho Man comes out with the NWO theme, but only with an added, ooh yeah, every now and then, which made it so annoying so fast. Again, Elizabeth is smoking hot. My God. Her going from like the dresses to this kind of more formal wear where she's got like an NWO shirt and kind of like nice pants, stuff like that. It's like, wow. It's kind of amazing to see somebody go from like the 80s to the 90s. She transitions very well. That was really great. DDP has one of the coolest entrants. I liked that, where the fireworks, I think, spread from like the tombstones or something like that. It was just a really cool entrance to see that. This was just a flat-out brawl between the two of them. They were brawling on the stage, they were brawling in the ring, they were brawling outside the ring. Great use of the stage, which I will say, 97 Halloween Havoc stage, probably one of my favorite stages I've ever seen. Where you had like all of these, styrofoam tombstones. You had the big skull in the middle, the 2 mini Titantrons there. It was really cool. They utilized all that very well. They utilized the tombstones, the coffins that were there, all this crazy stuff that was involved. It was great.
Did you notice one of the? Oh, I'm so sorry. Did you notice one of the tombstones that said Elvis?
Oh man.
He's alive!
Damn it all. Oh, man. I did not notice that. God. Sting just says to Hogan that you need to know something. The king of rock and roll ain't dead, but the NWO sure will die. Oh, my God. If you would have said that, would have been amazing. Oh, man. A missed opportunity by Sting. Oh, gosh. But yeah, it looks like DDP was just about to get the victory when Elizabeth actually knocks out the referee. That was something new. I was like, okay, so we went from classy, nice, dressed Elizabeth to probably the most smoking hot, baddest woman that you'll ever see. Then she takes like some wires and she starts choking out DDP with it, and I'm literally just like, oh my god, this is new. I like New Elizabeth. I like this. But out comes Kimberly, who beats down on Elizabeth and actually just grabs her by her hair, and that's how she takes her out. She's just grabbing her by her hair and pulling her to the back. I'm literally like, oh shit, this is even better. Holy cow, this is like a legit cat fight, but there's no rolling around. I know, it makes it even better. Shut the fuck up.
Or there's not a okay, or there's not a cat, because what pay-per-view was it? There was a pay-per-view that the Ruthless Aggression podcast, well, the American one, not the British one, where there was a cat fight, a brawl backstage with all the females, and Ivory had a towel on, and she threw a cat, an actual living cat, into the brawl.
Oh my god.
I will send this to you. It is the most unintentionally hilarious and punny thing ever.
Oh my god, that's great. So Elizabeth is taken out of the equation. DDP and Macho Man, they're continuing their fight. DDP misses a diamond cutter after Macho Man basically grabs the ropes, gets away from that. I think that was DDP's mistake because Macho Man's near the ropes. He goes for the diamond cutter, not thinking, oh hey, Macho Man can grab the ropes and counter my move. Boom. He gets hit with that. Macho Man hits a Macho Elbow. This is where my second issue came in, was that as the count was still going, Macho Man gets up to his feet. Referee indicates this, and then just restarts the count again. Why? You're already at 7. Now you're going back to 1. What? Just why? It made no sense to me. He would go for the elbow again. DDP would get back up to his feet. Diamond Dallas Page would counter a scoop slam into the Diamond Cutter, which was a great counter. Obviously, we would get a better one a year later, but this was still like an evolution of it, where it's like Diamond Cutter out of nowhere. DDP tries to go for another Diamond Cutter, but Macho Man hits a low blow. Then we have a fake Sting come out. He attacks DDP, hits him. I think it was supposed to be either in the neck or the chest with the baseball bat. But this would cause DDP to not get up for the count of 10. Macho Man would win. And to add a little bit more insult to injury, Savage decides to continue to beat down on DDP. He beats him down a bit after the matchup. Then they got him on a gurney. He stretched up. And we would not see this until about 7 years later, where somebody would get attacked in a stretcher. Because, well, actually, it was probably sooner than that. Because I was referring to the Snitsky-Kane deal, where Kane was getting pulled out of a stretcher, and Snitsky just shoves the stretcher over, beats him down. But I think there was probably
before that.
Yeah, that was just the one that came to mind. But yeah, Macho Man came up, he gets everybody out of the way, he starts beating down on DDP even more, and it kind of ends with that. Las Vegas Sudden Death match was a really great matchup. Yes, it's a poor man excuse for a last man standing matchup, but when you got these two guys in it, it was great. I liked a lot of the spots that were involved in this. It told a really great story. I liked the fact that we involved Elizabeth in this, and it also involved Kimberly, who neutralized Elizabeth from the deal. You had some great spots. Oh man, every time I see a Diamond Cutter, it's just great. Macho Man elbows were just really on point, and I think that it definitely does continue the story between DDP and Macho Man Randy Savage. Like I said, great, and I think that this should have been the main event, but trust me, we're going to get into that in just a bit. Oh boy. But your thoughts on this matchup?
I loved it. I like the whole, they were in a graveyard, and I thought, oh, they're foreshadowing Undertaker versus DDP. Well done. We saw, once I saw Savage with the camera, I'm just like, I'm Randy Savage, the jackass. Ooh, yeah. There was a really nice spot with, looked like DDP hit Styles Clash, but they call it the pancake. You know, the cover was,
yeah.
I always liked that there's a page tells stories about Macho, and it's like, hey, And, Macho really helped put him over in his career. Like, they had another match, I think, I want to say Spring Stampede, Super Brawl. They had another street fight where DDP finally got the win on Macho, because this was a storyline that was going on for a while, and they had, they had more going forward. Fake Sting, well, one of the fake Stings, we would probably see a few more later on. They come out, and then I remember WCW head of security Doug Dillinger.
Oh, jeez.
I liked it. He was unlockable in WCW WCW Mayhem and Backstage Assault. I'm like, why would I wrestle as Doug Dillinger? And I was actually just looking him up. I'm like, what happened to that guy? Because we saw... I was reviewing Unforgiven 99, and there was... Remember that big, beefy security guard for WWE, Jim Dotson?
Oh, yeah.
The guy that wore the leather cap. Well, he passed away a few years ago, and I'm like, what about Doug Dillinger? Oh, he's just quiet, retired, married life, so good for him. This was a whole fun. Liz and Kimberly with a whole lot of fun to him, baby. DDP got up at 9. There was the ref bump, and then finally, there's the diamond cutter, but there's no ref bump. So of course, he'd get the interference spot, and that was fun. You got to check out the rest of their matches, because they were top tier.
Oh, definitely. Well, we go into the main event, ladies and gentlemen, which is for the... No, it's not. Oh, that's right. It's just a cage match. So it's a cage match between Roddy Piper and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Michael Buffer as a ring announcer. Can never go wrong with that. I did question why the world title was not on the line, because...
NWO, that's why.
It's really weird, because with Piper, he was the WCW World Champion. And that could have made this matchup and even elevate the title a bit. But
he
instead,
wasn't the champion.
it was just weird. It's just like, what the hell's going on? It is what it is. They came out. They beat down each other. They both escaped the cage. I said Brock and Roman logic, because both men left at the same time? Question mark?
Oh no!
Because they both left the cage at the same time, I guess. So that's why nobody was declared a winner during that deal. So I was like, okay, whatever. We see Hogan and Piper fighting in the cage. We see a fake Sting appear. Then we see another Sting appear. We see more Stings just appearing all around the arena for reasons. But this is probably something that, is more for the mind games on Hogan, which set up their matchup at Starrcade later on. So I guess it makes sense. I will say this. The fact that there was no referee in that ring, it kind of made for a better matchup for the first part of it, because there was no stupid... it's one of those situations where you don't have a referee yelling at them, you don't have a referee screaming at them to do this and blah, blah, blah. They literally said, there's no referee inside, so they literally can do whatever they want to each other. It's like, yeah, they can, and I kind of like it. Can we actually have that first part of the matchup, just, these two guys, just literally no referee, just let them go crazy. Second part, maybe throw the referee in there if need be. That's just my opinion on it. Hogan hits 2 of his leg drops on Piper, and Piper kicks out. Probably one of the few times where it's like, oh, hey, the Hogan leg drop doesn't really matter as a finisher anymore. We get that, oh, God. Whew. That scary Macho Man Savage Spot. How did he not break his... This was like... I think that this was the top scary moment next to Jericho's the Frankenstein deal, because while, yes, neck injuries are never, are never something to joke about or even to talk about, because it's very cringeworthy most of the time. But with Macho Man, he jumped from the top of the cage to the ring, and it literally looked like his leg should have exploded. But that's not what happened, because I just didn't understand this. I literally just see him go in, He dives down. I think he missed Flair. And he was still able to get up. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the absolute hell are you able to do that? That makes no sense. I don't know if maybe there was he hits a soft spot in the ring, or maybe, there was something there to help cushion the fall or something. I don't know. But it was just
he stuck the landing.
He did, but it was really scary just seeing that. Piper would lock in the sleeper hold. Hogan would submit. And Piper wins, but does he really? Because he then gets cuffed onto the cage, gets beaten down by Hogan and by Savage, and then WCW does something that I didn't think they would ever do. They took a camera, they focused on a fan who was climbing up the cage, and then he climbed down inside the cage. And what we witnessed next was why you do not do this shit. Because it kind of looked like he was going to go help Piper, but nope. Instead, he got the ever-living piss beat out of him by Hogan and Savage. They literally would not let him leave the ring until he basically learned his lesson. He's wearing the Sting face paint, but that didn't matter. I probably even added more depth to the story, actually. Where it's like, hey, Sting guys, they could be everywhere, so we're going to beat this guy up. And literally, again, we just see him getting beaten down, and Hogan and Savage just do not care. To the point where the guy, his shirt was gone. He literally looked like he was just spaghetti noodles. And Hogan and Savage are just literally trying to get like one more lick at him. It's kind of just like, I want to keep going. I want to keep going. I don't care. Just try to kill this guy. I mean, I get it. You want him to learn his lesson, but don't kill him. At least give him a reason to go. At least give him time to go back and warn everybody else. And then you can kill him. That's just me. Match itself, like I said, sudden death match should have been the main event. I think that this title... the title would have been more prestigious had it been on the line, but that's just me. It's neither here or there. It was there. It was what it was. I mean, Piper and Hogan were not exactly spring chickens, so you kind of have to work with what you got, and that's kind of really all I could say about this matchup. I don't know. Did you enjoy this match a bit more, or were you kind of on the same boat as me?
It's because I'm a big Piper fan. Long live the Hot. This was a rematch from Starrcade 1986. Piper bit Hogan, what I thought was funny. The two-man escape, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's a double DQ. This match is over. And then here comes Sting. I'm seeing a double. 4 stings. Oh, more stings. And every time I see Michael Buffer, I just say, oh, let's get ready to suck it! And, this whole, all these stings coming around, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the Children of the Corn.
Oh, shit. References, we got them.
And Piper, the first guy since Sid Justice to kick out of the Hogan leg drop, only because Papa Shank missed his cue at WrestleMania 8. And Savage, double axe handle off of this cage, just flying into view. Yeah, how he's not. My knees will buckle if I step off of my step ladder in my kitchen. Oof. If I'm going to the top shelf to get a cup, and I come off that, yeah, my knees will buckle doing that. So I can imagine how his legs didn't explode. And this, I gotta look at him, and I swear it was David Flair. It was a plant, obviously, but I'm looking like, this guy looks like David Flair. He's scrawny like him. He's got the short hair. If it's not him,
I mean, honestly,
yeah.
It's really weird how. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. It's crazy when you think about all these little all these little plants and all these people that play these characters. It's like, oh, hey, this looks like this person. This looks like this person. And then you realize, oh shit, it is them. I think I always love whenever I'm watching like security guards, and if it's somebody who's a local talent from here in Wisconsin, I will always freak out and be like, oh my god, it's T-Dub3, or oh my god, it's Joey Avila, oh my god, it's this person, it's this person. And it's just great.
Nathan Gust!
It's Raging Nathan Gust, yes! Oh my gosh, why is that guy not put on TV? He would make the greatest 24/7 champion of all time. So, hashtag Nathan Gust for 24/7 champion. Oh gosh, that'd be amazing. But yeah, overall, this event was so much better than the year after when we would have 98. We'd have that dumpster fire of a matchup because, yeah. But yeah, this was definitely one of those matches where it definitely showcased DDP slowly starting to grow out as a megastar. A couple months later, he would actually win the WCW United States title from Kurt Hennig. So we see that. A couple months later, we would also have the match between Hogan and Sting, where Bret Hart got involved, even though it seemed like some creative differences or some shit like that. It was really a weird time. We also had, as you mentioned before, Larry Zbyszko versus Eric Bischoff for control of WCW, I believe it was. And hey, my boy Larry won. Yes! So I can't really be mad about that. Yeah, it was a very interesting time. This is where I think WCW went from like burning hot to starting to get into the lukewarm part of their career, because I think around this time is where things started, falling apart. Things started getting a little bit weird. I think a little later on was when they had that whole deal with what was it, like the split between Hollywood and Wolfpack and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those things where, like Adam Blampier said, at that point you just need to realize that your idea has just died. So you need to just accept it. But yeah, I think that it does come to a point where it's like, okay, need to really focus on what matters, and that's the big payoff. Even though Hogan was the guy that was that everybody hated, it really sucked when he was on top as the top heel. Oh gosh, that might be something we'll have to discuss. Which reign of terror was worse, the Hogan terror or the Triple H terror?
Hogan.
Oh man, boy, I'm gonna have to start looking into like pay-per-view matches and stuff like that. Maybe look at like Hogan's terror in WCW. But that's for another time. So with that, we're gonna end this Halloween-themed episode. I guess we can call it, with the fact that, hey, you might have gotten your spooks on, but just remember that the year is almost over, and that is the scariest thing of all. So you can always follow us on Twitter at the legendary JF at RealFNGame, or also on Attic_Wrestle, where you can check out all the great people of Gifted Podcast, Kings of the Ring, Fourth Wall WrestleCast, and Nacho Mama Soap Opera Podcast. Check us out on our Patreon to check out all the amazing content that we have. Guys, if you live up here in the Wisconsin area, next weekend we have a frontline show happening in Stevens Point, where it is going to be an absolutely fantastic show. Special guest stars include Swoggle and Mr. Anderson. And it's going to be an absolutely fun show. Proudly, we're sponsoring that show. It's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of great moments in there, and I'll tell you this right now, you are definitely not going to want to miss how the Game Changer podcast is going to be a part of this show. Also, like we said, the end of the year is going to have our year-end Gamey Awards, where we will definitely be talking about the highs and the lows of the entire year as far as wrestling goes. We will also be listening into the Wrestle Hub Awards, which will be taking place on December 8th. Definitely check that out, you guys. And we're looking forward to seeing what the Master of Ceremonies, our host, our good friend, Mr. Ant, has in store for us in the following weeks to the build-up to this. It's going to be an absolutely crazy way to end the year. So for Mr. Fretz, I've been NateFNGreat. You've been listening to the Game Changer podcast here on Wrestle Addict Radio, a part of so many great podcasting forums. We will talk to you guys in the next episode. And just remember, you can always be a game changer. Always do it one day at a time. Have a good one, you guys. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.
There's no escape.